Scott with RSRegulate here. Let's talk AK-300. What you see here is the rollout package for the AK-300 series, the next generation of mounts from RSRegulate. We have the AK-300 bases and the AK-300 tops. And we rolled out with 3 of each and more to follow. Let's talk specifics here. AK-301, AK-302, AK-303. AKML aim-point micro mount, AKM 30mm red dot mount, and ACOG for brow BCO optics, ACOGs, and compact ACOGs. Today we're going to go into detail about the entire family, the modularity, the improvements over Gen 1, how you adjust them to fit onto a rifle, what comes in the box, and if you have any questions, we can go over those afterwards. So first off, let's clear away the table. We'll discuss Gen 1 versus AK-300. Clearly we have here an RSRegulate Gen 1 micro mount, or AKML. Gen 2, you have to buy a mount, a base, and an optic mount to get the same functionality. Why did we do that? Several reasons. First off, if you had a first generation AKML mount and it put the optic exactly where you wanted it, front to back on the rifle, fantastic, you were good to go. But what if you needed to move the optic slightly rearward or slightly forward? You were stuck because this system did not allow you to have modular front to back adjustment. The AK-300, on the other hand, you can place your optic towards the back, towards the front. Let's say you want to run it all the way to the rear. You purchase a different base, you run it all the way to the rear. The other main differences between first generation AKML and second generation AKML, besides having to buy an AKML and a base, is the fact that we took added weight out of this unit, and we also took thickness out of all of the AK-300s. You can see side by side here, the AK-300s are approximately 30% thinner than previous. They're also lighter than the previous designs. Total weight with an AK-301, an AKML, and an aim-point T1 is less than 8 ounces. That's less than half a magazine full of rounds in a 7.62 gun, not even counting the magazine. Significant weight reduction here. Let's talk about the AK-300 changes as far as the locking mechanism. The first generation mounts employed a Russian or Belarusian style lever system that actually deformed the mount to create the clamping mechanism. Were somewhat counterintuitive to adjust and understand if you weren't used to them. And overall, the quality of these pieces as we purchased them wasn't necessarily where they needed to be. So we went back to the drawing board and we came up with this unit here. The heart of this unit is the titanium locking bolt. This titanium bolt has a breaking strength of several tens of thousands of pounds. We had to do that because we went incredibly thin to get this low profile, but we needed the strength. Additionally, we moved from deforming metal to sliding metal. So we have a machined locking block that moves up and down and creates the pinching motion against the side rail of the AK. As you can see, we also have a new throw lever design. It's fully encapsulated within the profiles of the mount. Nothing sticks below into the trigger guard, and nothing protrudes from the side of the mount. So you get slick side, you get slick bottom, and yet it doesn't get accidentally snagged. You have to actually go inside the mount and intentionally open the lever for it to function. As you close the lever, the locking block moves up, engages the rifle bottom portion, and locks the mount onto your rifle. I've never mounted this lower to a rifle. Let's do so right now. We have here our RS demo rifle. It is a Sega base, Krebs built Speedload Tactical 545 gun, and we have an AK-301 fresh out of the box. So first thing you're going to do, open up the throw lever. You're going to place it on the rifle. Again, you can see my starting engagement point is in front of where you'd find, for instance, a folding stock block here. And that's to accommodate aftermarket side folding stocks. and you're going to open the throw lever and try to attempt to push this on. Here, this does not go on. So we know that this locking block sits too far upward in the rifle. So what we're going to do is loosen it. You can do this with the throw lever open or closed, it doesn't matter. And you're going to push down with your thumbs on this lock block, and lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. In this case, we got to go looser, so we're going to turn to the left. We're going to turn it one detent, and then this lock block will slide back up against the screw, and you won't be able to turn the screw. That's how you know you've done it correctly. Then we'll open back up the lever. We'll attempt the process again. In this case, we've got a nice firm engagement. Oh, still too tight. Let's go one more off. So again, push down, lefty-loosey. We're going to turn it again 1/6 of a turn in this case. One flat of the bolt head. We're going to install it right back on the rifle. Perfect. Nice and smooth. Goes on. Stop pin. Shut your lever. This is all that is required to fit a base to a rifle. Super simple, super easy. 100% return to zero, 100% accuracy retention. No matter how many times you open and shut this lever, no matter how many times you place the mount on and off the rifle, you always get return to zero. This is done because we actually pinch the mount in several different places on the rifle, so we get the absolute return to zero. Let's go over a few of the options you have with the AK-300 system. We have 303 again, 302 and 301. Let's stack them up here so we understand what we're looking at here. As you can tell, yep, that's what we did. We took the same basic design in the 303, we cut off the front for the 302, we cut off the back for the 301. The reason we did that is we recognize that there are differences in end user needs. The AK-302, for instance, was designed specifically for AKSU 74 users. They don't need optics in the front of the rifles because they have a rear sight in the way. They need to be able to mount optics towards the rear. No need to have the extra weight, the extra complexity of having this unit here, so we just cut it off. 302. The same can be said of AK-301. Some people want to run ultra slick, ultra lightweight. They want to run a micro, they want to run an RMR, they want to run things like that. No need to have the extra weight in the back. 301. The beauty of the system is any optic mount and any lower all function together. You have a T1, you want to run it at the back. You want to run it in the middle. You want to run it in the front. You don't want the extra weight. Run it in the front. You want to run it in the rear on a crank off. You run it in the rear. Everything is fully compatible. All uppers fit all lowers. 301 weighs less than 3 ounces. 302, less than 3 ounces. 303, 3.75 ounces. Slight weight penalty with the full-length rail, but fully modular front to back. Now let's talk uppers. So we launched with 3 uppers that you're very familiar with. Or I should say 2 that you're familiar with and a new one. Part of the AK-300 redesign was to accommodate optics such as the ACOG, because fixed magnification optics and even some of the variable magnification optics, you needed to have the base much further towards the rear than you could ever accomplish with this first generation mount with its fixed front orientation. So we went to a modular design, and all of the new optic mounts have the same modular design on the base, allowing you to move front to back and yet lock them permanently in place once you're ready to go. The ACOG mount can mount compact ACOGs, and brow BCO optics. The AKML, as previous, can mount aimpoint T1s. It was designed for an aimpoint T1. And we also know that some of the clones on the market will also fit this design. Again, designed for aimpoint micros. Then we have the AKM 30mm ring mount. Anything 30mm fits in this tube. So why did we make all 3 and why don't we have 10,000 more designs? They're coming. We've got several others. The best way to find out about them coming out, when they're going to be coming out, and get sneak peeks is on our Facebook page at RSRegulate on Facebook. let's move on to what comes in the box when you buy one of these units. So let's take an aim-point mount, an AKML. AKMLs and bases all come set up where when you open the box, the first thing that pops out at you is an instruction manual. You get the box in the mail. Comes with a sticker. This one's been cut so we can show you. Comes sealed so you know that nobody's been tampering with your mounts. You open up the mount box. First thing that pops up at you is an instruction manual. And also in this instructions it includes what is in the box, the type of optic base requirement, the weight, and the abilities of this specific mount. So we'll set that aside. Then you have your optic mount. You have a little bit of packaging material. And you have component set here. So clearly if you're going to mount an aimpoint T1, you need bolts to mount a T1, and you need bolts to connect this upper with your lower of choice. In this case we'll go with the 303. So in each baggie are the appropriate hardware sets for each upper, and they'll be different depending on the uppers you buy. Also provided is a warning. Some optics use different bolts than what we specify. We include the bolts necessary to mount the original equipment optics that we spec for these products. In this case, an aimpoint T1, H1, R1. They use a specific metric bolt that we were able to source, and of course use blue thread locker on, as well as the bolts to attach the upper to the base. Included also is a stainless steel pin that we'll go over in a moment, and the necessary wrenches to accommodate your fitment. Let's show you how that's done. I personally would take my T1, place it on there, drop my bolts in with blue thread locker, tighten them in before proceeding to the next step. In that case, this is how to install the two pieces together. There's going to be some interference between these, and that's necessary to prohibit any radial movement of the mount. But then you just take your bolts, drop them in the slots, take your main wrench, after putting blue thread locker on of course, and simply tighten down the bolts. Of course you retain the ability, as with all RS products mounts, to adjust directly over bore. There's slightly more than a 1/4 inch of overbore adjustment. That means this will go directly over bore on any AK with any side rail. Vepers, Romanians, Bulgarians, Polish, anything with a side rail, this will work on. It will go directly over bore, and it'll get you the lowest possible mounting option. Once you know where you are directly over bore, you can snug down your bolts. And then if you are in an aggressive use environment, we recommend that you pin the mount. Procedure for that is pretty simple. After having set your over bore, tighten your bolts with blue Loctite, come back in and use your supplied pin. There's a pre-drill mark here, and using a mill or a drill press, drill a 1/8 inch hole all the way through the upper and the base. And then you'll press the stainless steel pin in, which will permanently set the overbore adjustment so that no further adjustment is necessary. That's how you set up a mount for extreme use, or for regular use you can leave out